was. But anyway, let's to start with. Thank you very much for inviting me, Professor Evie, and allow me to share with you our city's modest contribution to the world's climate change initiatives. But before that, let me begin by giving you some biophysical characteristics or facts about my city. For those of you who don't know where Dagupan is, I assume most of us here are Filipinos, so later on I will just skip several of my slides because these are just slides presenting the initiatives of the Philippine government. So anyway, Dagupan is a coastal city located 212 kilometers from Manila, and it's approximately 4,447 hectares. And it has two climate seasons, which are wet and dry. Wet season starts on June until October, while the dry season starts on November until May. Dagupan has a population of 155,000 more or less, that reaches to around 300 to 400,000 people during daytime. So it's the center of trade and commerce in the north, as you all know. So let me just next slide, please. So nabanggit na ito kanina. This is about the Philippines, and next we start with the slide already. So dire-diretso lang. So these are just visual presentations of Philippines climate change status. Next slide. So in fact, this was a presentation I made during the Durban, kaya I mentioned all those initiatives by the Philippine government. So next slide. We begin in slide 12. So at the regional level, we are signatory to several agreements and manifesto through the ASEAN institution. Now going down to the local level. Next slide. Slide 12. Yeah. So this diagram illustrates the interactions between village and the city and sub-national agencies of government in Dagupan City. The village, considered the center of gravity, is the object of intervention by government instrumentalities, considering that they are the first to bear the brunt and equally the first to propose solutions in coming with these real and pressing challenges that they face. Strong collaborations to effectively implement climate change projects amongst actors, including people's deeper understanding and appreciation of their social rights and corresponding social obligation, cannot be understated. While we value our citizens' social rights, we likewise emphasize their social obligation to enjoy that right, drawing philosophical foundation from Karl Polanyi's principle of reciprocity. That's the reason why we have this caption, "Our city is our shared responsibility." That is the mantra of the Dagupeños. Dagupan City is experiencing several climate change impacts. Sea level rise. This impact can be observed in the coastal areas of Dagupan. However, we are still in the process of conducting scientific studies to determine the accurate annual average sea rise in the city. The disturbance in local climatic patterns is also observed. In the past, rainy season in our city starts from the month of June until October. But because of climate change, the rainy season starts from the later part of April and ends on early November. Moreover, an increase of 3-4 degrees Celsius in the global mean temperature is also felt in our city. Stronger typhoons. Because of our proximity to the Pacific Ocean, typhoons that pass in our city get stronger each year. This is due to the significant increase in the temperature of ocean waters, which is crucial in the formation of typhoons. Floods. The low elevation of the city, which is described to be not more than 2 meters above sea level, makes it more vulnerable to flooding. The location of the city being the exit point of all waters that drain into the Lingayen Gulf likewise contributes to our challenge. Water shortage. Some of the wells in the city have dried up due to the increasing temperature. In addition, shortage in potable water in local beach communities has been observed due to siltation. In order to address climate change, the city implemented both structural and non-structural programs. For the structural intervention, we replace the usage of fish pen into floating cage for aquaculture operations. We believe that this technology is more sustainable and it doesn't harm the environment. Floating fish cage do not hamper the free flow of water as well as facilitates the cleansing of the waters of the rivers. We began converting our lighting system in the city from fluorescent and incandescent to light-emitting diode or LED, which is more energy efficient, as we all know. We have integrated the concept of climate proofing, including the incorporation of eco-based structural design in our newly constructed infrastructures. In addition to our structural interventions, our city will construct a tsunami hill. I think this would be the first time that you would hear about this program. We would start it, yeah. Perhaps this will be the first ever tsunami hill in the country. This will be constructed in one of the island barangays in the city, in Barangay Pugaro. It has a diameter of 90 meters and 4.5 meters high. The vicinity of the hill will be planted with thousands of mangroves, which will serve as bioshield to reduce the impacts of tsunami and storm surge. The phase 1 of the construction will cost around 4 million pesos, or roughly $100,000 US, which will come from our CDRRMC fund. After the construction of the structure, this hill will be further developed into a tourist spot to generate income for the community and the city. Also, our application for the E-Trike program by the Asian Development Bank has been approved. A total of 2,500 E-Trikes will be allocated to the city of Dagupan, which will help in our carbon emission reduction efforts in the city. The city also adopted non-structural interventions, such as mangrove afforestation and reforestation, river rehabilitation, and proper waste management. Substantial efforts in educating our people on climate change issues are likewise continuously pursued. We have started to mainstream climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction in our city's planning instruments such as the Comprehensive Land Use Plan and the Comprehensive Development Plan. A few weeks ago, CDRRMC installed evacuation maps to 1,440 classrooms in all public school and secondary schools in the city of Dagupan. I think this is again first in the Philippines. As part of our school-based emergency preparedness and capacity building programs. Our city came up with institutional and legal mechanisms to support our existing climate change interventions. First on the line is the establishment of the City Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council that will address and respond to disasters in the city. This body is given adequate funding to sustain its year-round operations. Responding to the need for scientific data and subsequent adoption of climate change initiative, a technical working body on climate change was instituted. Consistent with our principle of reciprocity framework, involving stakeholders and non-stakeholders, the city government continues to establish strong and viable working partnership with national and international organizations such as the International Council for Local Environment Initiatives, or ETLE, the United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Reduction, the USAID, and just recently the AFD, the ASEAN AFD, the French Agency Development. We have partnered with the French Development Agency, or AFD. Dagupan City is one of the only 3 cities in the Philippines who will receive a technical grant on environmental and climate change planning. Dagupan City qualified with Santa Rosa and General Santos City for the technical assistance after a thorough assessment of the submitted requirements. The city endeavored to pass important legislation to protect the environment. One of these is the Coastal Fisheries Resources Management Ordinance, which governs the usage of our marine and riverine resources. Our comprehensive land use plan is also backed by local ordinances, ensuring that our land resources are utilized in a sustainable manner. Several local waste management laws such as the Health and Sanitation Ordinance and the Comprehensive Solid Waste Management Ordinance were also likewise passed. Dagupan City has significantly made strides in climate change adaptation and mitigation. Although our city is relatively small compared with other cities in the world, we have aggressively pursued important programs not only to adopt, but in the efficient and effective use of our natural resources. In the process, the city learned important lessons. First, that community participation and empowerment on CCA should be intensified because it is crucial and paramount. Number two, that inter-LGU cooperation must be strengthened because it is crucial. Climate change adaptation efforts of local governments, especially the neighboring municipalities and cities, should complement each other if we want it to succeed. Third, that mainstreaming urban biodiversity in local governance to enhance existing climate change adaptation is compulsory and urgent. The city admits that there are more things that need to be done to address the pressing issue of climate change. With that frame, the city intends to pursue the following: increase adaptive capacity and resilience of people by a deeper appreciation of their social obligation, aggressive urban greening and forestry, formulation of house construction or retrofitting standards, completion of the multi-hazard disaster assessment, the implementation of the livelihood vulnerability and resource assessment, and finally, building a reliable, up-to-date, and scientific-backed data. We only have one lifetime and only one planet Earth. Let us use our existence to care for our planet. Let us unite and do our individual share to protect our environment so that future generations will still see and experience how wonderful this world is. Before I end this presentation, may I share with you the words of our City Mayor, Benjamin Saplan Lim, in his inaugural speech. He said, "Government success wholly depends on the cooperation of our people, of our leaders, and the willingness of the people to share in that responsibility." Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel Vladimir Mata. So from his presentation, you learned that, well, the village is is central to, or at the forefront of climate change adaptation and disaster risk reduction, and that the responsibility should be shared by everybody. For your information, the story of Sorsogon City is highlighted as one of the best practices here by UN Habitat. And Barangay Mangin of Dagupan City is a multi-awarded barangay, I think, in disaster risk reduction by the National Kalasag Awardee. In English, it means what? Shield Awardee. In disaster risk reduction by the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council. So I hope our LGU participants have learned so much from the presentations. And if you want to know more about how they did it, you might want to confer with them, or you might want to go on a field trip, Lakbay Aral, so we call them Lakbay Aral, to the Dagupan City and Sorsogon City. Also, if a while ago we've been talking about, before we proceed to the question and answer, we've been talking about climate funds, or green climate funds. At the back is Dr. Sarah Bracken, who is one of our moderators. Last Tuesday, she presented her paper about green climate fund, and it would be interesting for you to know that green climate fund might not necessarily be used for clean or mitigation or adaptation. Based on her empirical studies, they were used for dirty industries or dirty energy projects. So yes, the concept is good, but we should also be discerning. Okay, the devil is always in the details. Okay, so if you're going to look for funds for our LGUs, try to be discerning. Okay.